Do you know when you need to submit a planning application? Have you received a notification about a planning permit application in your neighbourhood? Either way, the process can be daunting and often confusing, but we're here to help you navigate the application process. A significant part of the planning permit application process is to provide everyone affected by a proposal with an opportunity to have their say. This process ensures that Council can make informed decisions on applications. To help you better understand the process, I'm going to run through the basics of planning. The Victorian Government is responsible for establishing the planning framework for the state. It's essential that all applications adhere to this framework, and therefore Council must follow this framework when making decisions on planning matters in the Shire. The Victorian Government also has planning framework specifically for Nillumbik. This is called the Nillumbik Planning Scheme. The Nillumbik Planning Scheme outlines when a planning permit is required, as well as a range of regulations that Council must follow when assessing applications. This includes the appropriateness of the proposal to an area and what the land or development will be used for, such as housing, business or agriculture. These regulations are there to ensure land use and development is done in a sustainable way while maintaining the elements that make Nillumbik a great place to live, work and play. Some of the regulations in the Nillumbik Planning Scheme are mandatory, while others are used as guidelines, meaning some changes can be made. To find out what planning regulations relate to your land or any land in Nillumbik, please visit Council's website. If you are planning to develop or change the use of your land, there's a process set out by the Victorian Government that you must follow. Council will make the process as simple as possible for you by breaking it down into various steps. Step 1. Check if you need a planning permit. Before you submit an application, you should familiarise yourself with the Nillumbik Planning Scheme and confirm if a planning permit is required. You can submit a request online to get written confirmation to find out if you need to submit an application or not. It's also important to engage with a professional like a town planner or an architect, as they should be familiar with the planning framework and can help prepare the application or even submit it on your behalf. Step 2. Request a pre-application meeting. If you decide you need a permit, you can meet with a council planner to talk through the plans in a pre-application meeting. You can view more information about this service here. Step 3. Prepare and submit your application. Once you have all the information needed, you can submit your application online. You'll be required to pay an application fee at this stage. If an architect, town planner or builder is submitting the application on your behalf, they will be legally considered the applicant. All correspondence will go through them. Step 4. Preliminary assessment. This process includes checking it against the planning framework to see if it meets all required regulations. We also make sure we have enough information to assess it and can refer the application to third parties such as Yarra Valley Water and the Department of Transport to see if the proposal will affect public assets and services. Fire Rescue Victoria are also consulted for applications required by a bushfire planning overlay. Step 5. Advertising. If your application requires advertising, the surrounding neighbours might be sent a letter advising them of the application and a sign may be put on site. This gives everyone affected by the proposal 14 days to provide their feedback, including any suggested changes. If Council receives any submissions, we will work with the applicant and submitter to try and resolve any concerns. This can mean changes are suggested for the application, but remember, if plans go against the planning framework, minor changes are better than the application being refused. Some compromise may be necessary. So what do you do if you want to make a submission to a planning application? It is important that you understand the proposal before you make a formal submission for or against the application. The plans will be available for viewing on Council's website. If you need help understanding the plans, you can make an appointment to discuss the application with a Council planner. To make your submission, you can complete an online form or provide a written statement. If you're objecting to the proposal, you must include details of how you would be affected if a permit were granted and how your concerns could be addressed. Submissions must still be in keeping with the planning guidelines. Concerns such as effects to the property values cannot be considered under the planning framework. Step 6. Final assessment and outcome. During this step, Council will assess the application along with all the collected information. If any objections to the proposal remain, Council must consider these carefully too. If there are a significant number of objections, Council may decide to hold a public meeting. These meetings are a chance for planners and ward councillors to hear from the applicant and submitters and to try and resolve any issues. The final application and submissions received are then assessed under the Nillumbik Planning Scheme with a recommendation included in a planning report. There are 3 possible outcomes for an application. Council will either approve the application, refuse the application, or approve the application with changes. If anyone is unhappy with Council's decision, a 7th step might take place. Step 7, VCAT appeals. Once a decision is made by Council, it is final. However, an applicant or submitter has the right to appeal Council's decision to the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal, known as VCAT. This process is undertaken directly with VCAT and has its own timeframe and separate costs. Council will become involved when it's called to defend its decision to the tribunal. So now you should have a better understanding of the planning permit process. Remember to give your application the best chance of success. You should carefully consider the planning framework and Nillumbik Planning Scheme when developing your proposal. Get professional help to develop your plans and application. Talk to your neighbours about ideas early in the process. Submit a thorough application. Be responsive to Council's requests along the way. Be open to negotiation and compromise. If objecting, to give your concerns the best chance of being resolved, you should focus on the quality of your objection, not the quantity of objections. Clearly identify how you will be affected by the proposal. Refer to the planning framework and Nillumbik Planning Scheme. Suggest solutions to your concerns. Participate in a planning consultation meeting if held. Be open to negotiation and compromise. It is important to remember Council is here to listen to everyone's voice before making a decision. If you still have questions about the application or submission process, our planning team are here to help.